Hello and welcome to Examine Earth. This is an introduction to a playlist that guides you through the research and writing process. If you've been tasked with a research project and are unsure where to start, then this playlist is for you. The internet's full of fantastic learning resources, but there's also some bad info and even outright lies. I've sorted through all of that to assemble this list of quality videos. Most of the videos are made by other creators, although I have included some of my original content to fill some gaps. Writing a research paper can be intimidating, especially if you've never done it before, but isn't that really true of almost everything? The playlist will help you become more familiar with the process and how to break it up into manageable pieces. You can't complete a large task all at once, so it's important to create smaller goals along the way. These videos walk through the initial research, choosing a topic, refining your thesis statement, all the way through the finished product. Let's take a look at each of these smaller steps in more detail. The first step is choosing a topic. What are you going to research? Sometimes this is chosen for you, but even then, usually have some flexibility. If you can choose anything, then we have the opposite problem of narrowing it down. Whatever your choices are, if you pick something that interests you, you're much more likely to enjoy the process and be successful. First thing to keep in mind is that it's okay not to have a topic right away. You might need some exploratory research to narrow in on something. Secondary sources like wikis, magazines, and general interest websites can give you some broad background very quickly on a wide range of topics. Please note that you will not, and I repeat, will not be citing these in your final paper, but it's a great place to start. If you have an initial topic and it's just not working for you, you find yourself uninterested or uninspired, it's probably best to switch. Bear in mind, it's much easier to switch early in the process than later. Once you have a general topic, think about why you chose it, and that might push you in a direction. For example, I love dinosaurs. I have some background knowledge about them, and people are generally interested in them. That makes dinosaurs an excellent topic. But a research paper needs to be more focused. I can't just write everything I know about dinosaurs or some interesting facts about dinosaurs. A research paper answers a question or addresses a problem. So, what are you going to address about your topic? Well, again, this may not be immediately obvious to you. You'll probably have to do some initial research deeper into your topic. Since you're now doing research, no longer reconnaissance, we need to move away from the secondary sources and go directly to the source. Primary sources are things like journals that are peer-reviewed, written by the original researchers in their original words. Don't trust what a journalist said about what a scientist said. Just go read the scientist's article. These primary scientific articles can be daunting, so there are some videos in the playlist that help you find them, break them down, and read them strategically. This process becomes easier as you become more familiar and learn more of the jargon in your field. If you don't know a word, look it up. Start building your vocabulary. This can be very frustrating at first, but think of it like learning a foreign language. Eventually, you'll be fluent in your discipline. As you read or strategically skim articles, you'll start seeing common themes. The same questions or debates will keep arising. These are areas to focus in on. To find more papers to read, look at the papers that those authors cited. They wrote the paper, they've done the research, build on their work. Of course, a good research paper will focus on something the reader will care about. You'll also want to think about what you are bringing with your paper. It doesn't need to be a groundbreaking, earth-shattering revelation, but you have your perspective, your experience, and your background to add. So for the example here, I wouldn't want to talk about everything dinosaur, but I kept seeing debates about exactly what caused them to go extinct. So that's going to be the research question. Now we've done some initial research and we have a topic and a research question. The bulk of the work will be trying to answer that question. Once you can do that, you can reframe your research question as your thesis statement. Questions end in question marks, but statements end in periods or even exclamation points. Of course, a scientific research paper must also support the answers that it claims to provide. These pieces of evidence will come from the primary scientific literature or even your own original research, but stay focused on your thesis statement. That is what your paper is about. The example here is no longer just dinosaurs or even why did dinosaurs go extinct, question mark, but answering that question highlighted in red and evidence highlighted in green. There's a few videos in the playlist about constructing your thesis statement, but it should have all three of these components: topic, position, answer to the question, and your evidence. And it should be no longer than a few sentences, and it will guide your research and your writing. Once you've got your thesis statement, it's time to start writing. The most important thing is to stay focused. Don't just data dump about the topic. Don't go off on unrelated tangents, and always ask, is this supporting my thesis statement? If it isn't, you should probably get rid of it. If it's something very interesting that you really like, it can be a different paper. A blinking cursor on a blank page can be pretty scary. The longest step of many projects is just getting started. Procrastination and anxiety are very real. If you use the structure of the paper, you can get very quickly started on writing something. I like to start with the section headers and then fill in from there with a very rough outline. There are some videos in the playlist that discuss the usual expectations for each section. For example, you know that the introduction will introduce the background of your topic. You'll also discuss the debate surrounding your research question. Use the introduction to build up to your thesis statement. I'd even suggest having the statement be the very last paragraph of the intro. Then in the discussion that follows, you discuss your major piece of evidence. Use the first couple paragraphs for your first piece of evidence, then use the next couple paragraphs for your next major piece of evidence. The paper quickly starts writing itself, one piece at a time. You no longer have to wonder about what to write in each section and stress out about blank white space. You know what the introduction is supposed to contain. You know what the discussion is supposed to contain. And then when you're happy-ish with those, you can very easily write the conclusions and abstract. In the first draft, just try to get all the components of the paper there and filled in. Have the basic structure and layout of the paper complete. Make it done so that even if you run out of time, you can still have a coherent product. Then we can focus on making it better. You can't improve a sentence that you haven't written yet. We always see a writer's final version, and that looks like a very high standard to meet, but we don't see all the previous drafts, the redrafts, and even complete redos. Writing is a process. If you try to write your paper in one night or one day, it's not going to work. It's not going to be your best. Leave time for revising. This can actually save time because you're not as stressed out about making the first draft perfect. Just write free form stream of consciousness, knowing that you'll go back and polish it. Let someone else look at it, offer feedback. If it's for a class, maybe ask the professor if they have time. Again, the process needs time. It sounds a little petty, but also make sure you're following instructions. All of the instructions. Every journal is a bit different, every instructor is a bit different, but if you don't follow directions, you instantly get put in a different pile. If you apply for a job or a grant and you don't have everything they requested, you go in a separate pile and you don't want to be in that pile. And the final thing is to remember that nothing is ever truly finished. No matter how long you spend on something or how much you polish it, there's always going to be something that could have been better. Get your product to the point where you're proud of it, or you've simply run out of time. After it's submitted or posted, you will find, maybe even agonize over mistakes and omissions, but nothing is ever perfect. Don't try to make it perfect. Make it good and make it done, and then move on to the next imperfect thing. The entire point of this channel is to help people find science topics that interest them and provide a helping hand along the way. If you think this playlist might help you, it will probably help other people too. If you like this video, share the playlist and subscribe to the channel. It'll help me help them. That's all for now. Thanks for stopping in to examine Earth.